Acknowledge me.
You just made the list.
I am the BEST.
I'm better than you, and you know it. Damn.
Welcome back to Down Under the Mat podcast here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. To my left, Mr. Daniel Danielson. To my right, Ready Reece. I am Booker Ted, and as you can hear, I'm still recovering from the flu, as well as going to COG on Friday night with the boys.
Yeah.
And screaming at the...
I don't want the flu again.
I don't want to catch your paracooties either, mate.
Mate, I recorded this podcast with no voice for like 2 months.
Yeah, I won't complain. Paracooties. Sounds like parachuties, doesn't it? Parachute.
You're the worst.
Paracooties. And also screaming at the TV yesterday for the 3 footy games, which all went the way I wanted them to. So, you know, I know you hate the Storm, Dan, but...
I do.
Mate,
Yeah.
my missus loves them, so I have to love them too. That's the way it goes.
But I've been there and done that, don't you worry.
That's a bit different. So I was going to ask you how your weekend's been, but, you know...
We all know.
We spent most of it together
Yeah.
for once. Yeah, it's just crazy.
And you're not going to repeat what you said on Friday night about COG, are you, Dan?
What about COG? So we went to a concert. Those of you that know COG, they're a great Australian prog metal band.
Mate, they're
prog
one
rock.
of the OG and best Australian.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that. They sounded great, but like
Don't say it.
from my
Don't
musical
say it.
tastes, I like them.
They're a bit drony for you.
They sound a bit the same on a lot of their songs. Not that the songs sound bad. at any point.
No, it's fine. I try not to discriminate people in their music tastes
But
because everyone likes something different.
Why Ted was so frustrated was like I was standing
Because
behind
he was mentioning this while we were trying to enjoy
all
one
the
of our
time,
favourite
and
bands.
I mean, look, I'd had a few
He
cans.
was very drunk.
Ted had many more, so
we'd
he's
all,
probably getting
we'd
more
all
cranky.
had a lot of cans, but every time a song started, I was like, Ted, didn't they just play this one?
And I was in the zone too, man. Like, I was loving the music. I'm like, I was at the right level of how many drinks I had. I was just enjoying it. And then he's just coming over with his happy little drunk thing, like, ooh, sounds the same.
It worked perfectly, as you could tell.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
I think it's
Dan.
pretty funny.
Thanks for that. Oh, let's start off with wrestling, right? Let's get into it.
Sure.
Let's get into it. First of all,
That's what we're here for.
we want to ask anyone at home who knows on SmackDown, because we can't figure it out, why Trick Williams got at least 2 chants during that show.
I don't understand it.
First of all, when
get that
Rocky was
everyone
getting
likes-
something out of the bag, he got his belt out of
Whoop
the bag.
that trick.
And then it happened during the main event between Bailey and Dakota.
Because it's really fun to chant, whoop that trick.
It
is
is
pretty
but
fun.
Whoop that
Yeah.
trick.
Pick your
Whoop
moment.
that trick.
Pick your moment. It was weird. Anyone who can enlighten
Ted always
us,
getting
please
cranky
know.
about crowd chants.
Not always.
Always.
Not always.
Mostly.
What?
What?
What was it? It was Ted that specifically told us when we went to Elimination Chamber if anybody follows a what chant, he was going to punch them. Was that you?
I don't think I said that.
Oh, no, I was 100%
You
Ted.
were pretty adamant.
I was pretty adamant though. Don't what people. Yeah.
What?
What?
Exactly. So let's start off actually with the news.
What?
So Starrcast in Ballarat.
Mate.
It is stacked, man.
Stacked.
It is
Let's
cast.
go through the card. I've got it up here.
Please do.
So-
Please do, sir.
Headlining because he's the best there is, the best there was.
And the best there ever will be.
You
Bret
love
Hart.
Bret Hart, don't you?
Mickey James, Eric Bischoff.
We knew about those. Yep.
From AEW, Powerhouse Hobbs.
Yep.
From TNA, we have the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Moose, coming down and defending
You're
his
so
title.
sad you're not going to see this.
Oh, I'm Devo, man. Especially
You drove to Wadja Wadja last year to watch their terrible show.
Ballarat's
Moose
just a
didn't-
little bit further than
Moose
Wadja
didn't
Wadja.
even win the Digital Media Championship there.
Now he's the world
Now he's
champion.
a world champion.
And he's going to defend it too.
We've also got Jordan Grace coming down and defending the TNA Knockouts Championship as well.
Isn't it Jourdain? Grace?
Oh, the post I saw for Starrcast this morning, it was like Jourdain.
Jourdain.
Jourdain,
That's
yeah.
not wrong. Yeah.
Oh, mate, I don't know what they're smoking to
I'm
smell
not
it
an
that
artist,
wrong.
but I don't know if I could draw a Dane.
Yeah.
Do you mean Dame?
Anyway, keep going.
That's the dad joke of the day.
More people from TNA. We've got Josh Alexander, Kushida, Jody Threat.
Didn't Robbie Eagles call out Kushida?
Yes.
Oh,
Which is like, that's going to be an absolutely stellar match.
We're not going to Ballarat, and I'm so sad.
I'm actually getting really annoyed that we
Stop
have
making
not
it so
organised
good.
this.
That's a sentence I never thought we'd say. I really want to go to Ballarat.
Ballarat's had a pretty rough time at the moment, dude. They need something happier.
Yeah. Shelton Benjamin, Vix Crow, formerly known as Alicia Fox.
All right.
Is that her name now?
Yeah.
Vix Crow.
Dalip Singh.
Vix Crow.
Dalip Singh.
I'm not letting you go past
We're
Vix
going past
Crow.
it. There's a stacked lineup we got to get through.
Yeah.
Forget Vix Crow.
Dalip Singh, formerly known as the Great Kali. Lisa Marie Valone.
That's
Maroon?
Victoria.
Victoria. Yep. Chris Masters.
That was Chris Masters.
Yep.
Thanks for that.
No. After the WWE Hall of Fame announcement, Bull Nakano is going to be heading down as well.
That's kind of cool.
We've got Gangrel.
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
That'd be
this
pretty
is-
cool.
this
This is
brutal,
absolutely
man.
stacked, dude.
Yep.
Tennille Dashwood, Steph DeLander, some guy called Mance Warner. I've never heard of
Yep,
him before.
cool, yep.
AAA Women's Champion Flammer is coming down.
Uh-huh.
It's a bit of a weird name. We got Mike Rallis, who's Emma's now husband.
Yeah, you mean Tennille Dashwoods?
Yeah.
Yep.
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 Same person.
We talked about that last time.
Shanky Singh.
Who's Shaky Singh?
Shanky.
Shanky. You
Remember Shanky?
Oh, Shanky.
Yeah, Shanky's
great.
coming down.
Yeah, okay.
I think everyone that
Don't care.
I think everyone that buys a StarCast ticket gets a free meet and greet with him.
Mate,
Excellent.
sign up. I did see the prices for that too, actually. They're like, it was like 110 for a gold pass that got you like GA access for all the events and stuff. But then 660, I think I saw on their post, was like you got 10 different wrestlers, like VIP experiences.
pretty
with
good,
them.
man.
It was a random draw of who the 10 were going to be.
Yeah.
But out of that list, you're going to get someone
You'd be
good,
chuffed
dude.
getting
Yeah, for sure.
like a quarter of that, dude. That's
How
crazy.
happy would you be if you got Bret Hart?
You're like, oh, God. Shawn Michaels.
I wouldn't give a
was
shit.
better.
I'd just like
Yeah,
give up my
because
spot to someone.
you wouldn't be game enough to say
Montreal
to his
Screwjob
face.
was true.
Yeah. So Val and Conrad Thompson. That's your list.
Dude, that is stats. That is
That is
stats.
huge.
But like,
If there is anyone going, let us know, and we'll give you a 4-pack of something to be our correspondent.
Yeah.
and
we
a-
can't
and a
pay
Jen
you.
under the mat hat.
Oh, yes.
Free Dan under the
Free
hat.
hat. Free hat.
Free hat.
So what do you think, Dan? Do you want to go?
Look, unfortunately that week I'm booked for 2 concerts already in
I
Sydney.
am
Otherwise,
very heavily contemplating it.
But
But
if
I just
wasn't in
cannot.
Sydney, I'd go.
I just cannot.
I'm really tossing it up, man. I tell you.
If you boys go-
I'm really tossing it up.
It's an 8-hour
it is-
drive.
It is stacked.
Yeah, but like I said, it's not too expensive to fly to Melbourne,
Oh,
and then you just hire a car for the weekend. We did it in Perth. It's not that expensive.
no. I have too much shit coming.
We'll have a look at it.
I can't-
We'll have a
Just,
look
I
at it.
reckon logistically, you boys look at it because I've got Incubus on a Wednesday and then Bring Me the Horizon on a Sunday, and that thing happens right in the fucking middle of it. So unfortunately, I cannot be there.
We forgot to mention about who else is going to be at StarCast. Our very own, from Slam, the champion,
Yeah, Mikey Broderick.
Luke Watts, you moron. Wow.
He's still my champion.
Luke Watts will be. Kingsley will be there too, right? They said both champions. It'd be Kingsley and Luke.
Maybe.
I guess it depends.
I'm pretty certain, yeah.
I can't remember.
Depends on
I can't remember.
who
Sorry.
from the local wrestlers will be there. Because the way that they normally do these events, right, is that the local talent wrestle the international guys, right? So
Yeah.
we're not going to get like Moose versus Josh Alexander here.
No.
It'd be Moose versus maybe Luke
Mikey
or
Broderick.
Mikey
Yep.
Broderick or someone like that. Like we said, Robbie Eagles will face Kushida. You'll get like the Velocities against Bret Hart and Bull Nakano. I don't know.
Bret Hart. Intergender match.
But yeah, they wrestle against the local guys, so it like helps put that talent over. So that'd be like the interesting part to me to see who from the local Australian scene, like if we get a
Who's gonna verse Luke for the title?
who's going to verse Luke for the title.
Out of that card?
Do you know who I'd love to see face Jordan Grace? Delta.
Oh, that would be good.
That'd
That'd
be
be very good.
Dude, like they
match.
actually
Make it happen.
when they announced Jordan defending her title, the tag was "Who do you want to see Jordan face?" And
Delta.
literally, I went in the comments and it's just like Delta, 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 Delta.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, Delta's gonna kill you.
That's for sure.
Hopefully Delta's going to WWE. We'll see. So anyway, hopefully someone out there who's watching us gets to go to StarCast. We're going to consider or try and wrangle things to get there. We'll see how we go.
That's after. That's the week after WrestleMania too.
Bring some more stuff to Canberra, please. Please.
Just to the East Coast. Bring it
Just
more
for
to
us.
Sydney. Like we could deal with Sydney.
Speaking of World Series wrestling,
Yeah, I got
that's
World
coming.
Series.
up.
Oh, yeah,
that's
that's
gonna
it.
be good. That's gonna be
You
good.
mentioned about Nic Nemeth on Busted Open.
I did. He's now one of the correspondents on Busted Open Radio, which is mostly Bully Ray, Tommy Dreamer. I can't think of
I
the
can't
dude's
remember
name.
the main
Probably
guy's
should
name.
like quickly Google it whilst I'm talking about it to find out what his name is, because he's also the guy that The Rock called out on one of his promos a couple of weeks ago when he put someone up on the screen. It was the Cody Crybabies. That was him. So that's busted open radio. But yeah, Nic Nemeth's joined that. Mickey James is on there.
Dave LaGreca.
That's the guy. So he's like their host. I know like they've done it for like 15 years or something because they used to be on like actual radio. Now it's like podcasts and stuff. But yeah, it's good to see Nic Nemeth's on there as another like. It's good to see that you can start to get like once you're out of that WWE machine, you have freedom to do other things and get involved with this. Like they were talking about it. There's a clip going around at the moment with Dave in a American Nightmare baseball jersey.
Yep.
That he's sitting there and he's doing the talk, and Nick goes, "Oh, so do the Cody Crybabies have like softball practice after this or something? Like, what are you doing?" And he essentially just called him out for the story. And he goes, "Look, it's all good, but like it's 2 years that it's taken for him to have a story, and he is a legacy wrestler. Like everything gets handed to him, right?" And Dave's like, "No, that's not true. Like Cody's worked really hard for it." And Nick's like, "Yeah, like because like every other wrestler that comes in there that works really hard gets given main event WrestleMania things, right? Don't they? Don't they?
It
all
should
the
have
good
been
wrestlers,
me.
like me."
Should have been me.
Yeah, look,
I think-
I get it, dude. But then, like, you can't give it to everyone.
Oh,
People have got to
100%
miss
work.
out. That's the point. People have got to miss out.
I know.
I
And
hope it's a work. I hope.
It's a work. He's not having a go at him, but I think he was very, very quickly calling him out for being a Cody Crybaby, which I like. So, I do like sometimes if you don't catch them, they've got a lot of YouTube videos and stuff. I'm not a huge fan of Tommy Dreamer, but he is pretty smart with some of the things he says. I really like Bully Ray's input. Bully Ray,
He has a lot of input.
All the clips that I see on TikTok of Busted Open Radio, it's always Bully Ray just dropping truth bombs.
Yep.
He just gets the business, man.
The best
life,
part of
so
the
makes
one I
sense.
remember was a couple of months ago when Seth and Punk had their first promo. Bully was the one that was like, "Watch Punk. He doesn't blink. Like he's like, look at the way he stands. Look at the way
He finds the detail. He finds the detail.
So that's really cool, and I think Nic Nemeth on that would be fun because I think he's very entertaining as a
for
person.
sure. Yeah.
He'd be good on that show.
Speaking of CM Punk and Booker
yep.
T, Booker T on his podcast.
There's a work. So
Oh, 100%.
on Booker T's podcast, I don't know who he podcasts with. I think it's called the Hall of Fame podcast, but I think that's
Mate, he's a
putting-
2-time Hall of Famer.
I know, but you're putting a bit of extra stuff on top of yourself there, Booker. Essentially, like he starts to because CM Punk was at NXT this week. He was shown sort of in the crowd or backstage, but like a lot of the rumor story going around is that a lot of the talent didn't know he was actually there. A few people did, but not everybody. And Booker was supposedly one of the people that knew he was coming. And then supposedly Booker said, "Oh, there was a thing that happened, but don't worry about it. I'll tell you about it. I'll tell you off camera. Like we won't do it here. I'll tell you off camera. It's fine." Which everyone then caught on and was like, "What's happened? What's the story?"
Yeah.
Like Booker T's going to tell something. It's a work because
It would have been a positive story that he's just put that little spin on
Oh,
just
but-
to
but
generate
the
some
only thing
news.
is,
For sure.
I know there has been a little bit of heat in the past between them because Booker has come out, and this was when CM Punk was out of the business before he went back to AEW, where Booker was telling a story about at WWE where CM Punk stood up and said, as a locker room leader,
Oh, yeah, we've
and
all heard
apparently
that
him
one.
and Jericho were like, what the hell? So there has been some legit heat there in the past, but I wouldn't be shocked if they're going to turn that into a work.
Yeah, for sure.
Like they're
'Cause,
doing
like,
with the other stuff.
I think we covered it a couple months back when Punk came back. Like he's already openly expressed that he wants to go down to NXT and help. Like
And he
once
has
he's
been.
done wrapping up.
Perfect place for him, man.
Yeah,
Perfect place for
100%.
him. Because I mean,
especially with the mind that he's got, like you'd be stupid not to take advantage of that for future superstars somehow.
Yeah. I'll quickly touch on like while we're talking about this NXT stuff. Another podcast I watched during the week, the Undertaker's podcast.
Okay.
Whatever it is, 6 Feet Under. It's not as good as I'd hoped it was, but this week he had Michelle McCool, and some of the stories she was saying were really interesting, like how much she wants to like come back and wrestle, essentially.
Yep.
And how she fully put over this current roster. She's like, when she was wrestling, it was, Mickey James and Layla and stuff like that. Like the talent wasn't quite there. So the Divas never really got the same respect back
Was
then
that
as
her
what they
throwing
do now.
shade at Mickey James?
No. She said
No,
like her
I
and
think she
Mickey
meant
and
like
good.
that was the other headliners that were there, like the other good
Okay.
wrestlers.
Whereas
like,
right now, like she said, I could hop into a ring with
Anyone.
with Bailey, with Charlotte,
Yeah.
with this, with that, with that. And then like you could have great matches with any of them. They're all really good. So she talked about that, and then Undertaker was talking about her essentially saying when she was a rookie, he noticed her early on, and like a lot of the women and stuff didn't really want to help from Undertaker because he like wrestled a different style. And he kind of came out and said that's kind of why he doesn't do NXT and stuff and like come down and help the people because it's a very different style to the way he was to what it is now.
Yeah.
So he put over people like Shawn Michaels and Punk and stuff that have a mentorship or a way that they can teach the newer wrestlers of how to do things. We've said this before with Undertaker, how he said his matches were 30 minutes and the first 15 minutes was him slowly getting into it and then the last 10 minutes was him really ramping it up. Can't do that today because kids won't sit around for 30 minutes for a match. So he doesn't have the same way of sort of teaching that other people do.
Yeah.
Which I think is one of the things why, I guess you don't see him backstage as much anymore because like he doesn't have the same influence on the locker room that other people do.
It's funny you mention that because like I actually read something this week. Like another one of the reasons why he doesn't hang around so much is because he feels like if he's there backstage, he should be getting ready for a match, and it still doesn't sit right with him that he's like well past that now. So I thought that was really interesting, like seeing that come from his perspective as well.
I get that because if you're around it, you want to be in it. You want to do it.
Yeah.
Like it makes you miss it. So
He did also tease a potential Sting match, half-heartedly.
That would be
just like because he was like, "Oh, I don't want to have one more match, but like it's just a shame that Sting just retired and something could
come out of
happen,
retirement match.
Michelle was very, very adamant, I guess, saying that she could definitely go again.
Yeah.
And if
I
did,
reckon she could.
she would love a Charlotte match.
Yeah, well, when she's come back in the Rumbles, man,
she's
In Ugg boots and tracksuit pants.
Hey, man, don't knock him. Yeah, cool. All right. Now, a quick one. There's a lot of reports online and people going crazy. Brock's back on the roster. He's back on the website.
Back on the roster.
But you were saying
So
that he never left.
yeah, which is something that I like when I saw those stories. I was like, "Oh, he's coming back. He's gonna come back in the gauntlet match. We'll get that Gunther Brock Lesnar match like we were meant to."
No.
But then, like I've read further in the reports, like he never actually got removed from the roster at all.
Well, it's the same as the shop, right? All of his stuff was still in the shop, just
It was
discounted.
just discounted.
He was removed from the 2K24 roster as a playable character. He's still in the game.
He's still in the game. He's not a
but
playable
he's been
character.
removed.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was never taken off the website as a black person. So I think that if you go through some of the internet stuff, there's two conflicting stories. Brian Alvarez, I think, is the one that's saying that there's talks to bring him back, and I think Dave Meltzer and others have all said, look, that's not necessarily true. They haven't talked about bringing him back, but they've also not talked about not bringing him back. So
they've talked about him. But
yeah,
just not
but it's not like,
cementing
hey,
any
we're gonna
stories yet.
look at SummerSlam or whatever. It's like, well, let's just let like Sleeping Dogs lie for a little while. We'll give him a bit of space. And maybe in 9 months' time, when things are there and we want a storyline and Brock's ready and stuff, we can bring him back for it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's written off the same way that Vince is written off.
No,
I think that it is definitely a hey, we probably don't want this front and center right now. Give it space.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think there's rumors going around that is it Minnesota getting WrestleMania 41 in the Vikings Stadium.
Yeah. And if that's the case,
that's where Brock's from.
That's
you put Brock in for a last WrestleMania match. You retire him at 41.
Yeah,
and he's gone.
100%. That if it does get cemented for Minnesota, that needs to happen.
And I think that's what this story is.
Yeah.
It's there's very strong rumors that that's the next WrestleMania. They're going to give it to that stadium. They announced it before this year's one. That's Brock.
Who do you book for Brock's retirement match
oh, that's a
with
tough
this
one.
current roster? Let's eliminate going against any legends or anything. Think of a storyline about this current roster. Who do you have Brock put over on the way out?
I would say Gunther.
No, I've got a better one. Go.
I'd go Gunther.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. But the problem is I don't know where Gunther's going to be by that time. Because
World
he's obviously
champion.
going to be in the world
Yeah,
title picture, right?
that's. I'll jump on the back of that and I'll say it's for the world title next year.
I go and say no. I say it's Chad Gable.
That was my second choice. That's my second choice.
You know what? I would
That's
be
my second
very
choice.
on board with that because I love when Brock has matches against little men.
But the story
So
you
good.
tell is Brock versus Kurt at WrestleMania 20 or 19?
19.
19.
Oh, you redo that story.
You do that story. That Brock was, I should have won. I knocked myself out. And he won the match and stuff, and then he won the title afterwards and things. But like, his biggest highlight from that WrestleMania is him nearly killing himself. he wants to prove himself against another Kurt Angle type wrestler. That's Kurt. That's
And then
Chad
we
Gable.
need some montages of Kurt training Chad. That's
just
what we
drinking
need, man.
milk constantly.
I am of the firm belief that had Angle been about a foot or two closer, he would have hit that shooting star. No problem.
Oh,
Yeah,
easy.
probably.
Easy.
Yeah.
Dude, considering how long...
He was like 2/3 over the other side of the ring.
Considering how long that match had been going on and what they'd done in it, for him to even attempt it, like literally every other person who would have tried that would have died.
He was a freak athlete.
Yeah.
And he still is. So
Apparently, they said if his neck was not as muscly as it was, he would have been dead.
Yeah.
He would have been dead. So, on that note about Brock, because obviously, attached to the Vince stuff,
yes.
Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan have been noted as key witnesses.
As the key executives. Yes.
Yeah.
I read through this article in the story. Essentially, they've been named as knowing that this occurred, but not having any input to it. So Nick Khan and I can't remember the other guy's name. He was the head of the legal department. Were the two executives that were named in the storyline. Essentially saying that they are the ones that hired. What is it? Janine Grant.
Janelle Grant.
Janelle Grant. They hired her and then they moved her around. So she interviewed with this head of legal. He knew she had no legal experience or anything, but then they still hired her and then put her into a role. And then when Vince came to them and said, "Hey, we need to do this," then they just moved her. And a couple of times, she had meetings with them, and Nick Khan and that was just sure, whatever, and then just moved her or did what they had to do because they were just running the business. We want nothing to do with what this is.
Yep.
We just have to run WWE as a business. So I don't think Nick Khan's going to get fired or anything from this. If you look at the numbers that Nick Khan has done in terms of what WWE has, before he came in, and how he's gone and created so much money from them. The stock price has gone up. They've gone global. The extra Saudi shows, the merger with Tika, everything that is Nick Khan as the businessman that's got all this done.
Yep.
He's not going anywhere. Does it look good that sort of him and Stephanie, and then I guess, although not named, but by proxy, Triple H all kind of had a blind eye to it and just kind of let it happen? Sure, it's not great.
Yeah.
But that's the thing as well. They may have known that something was going on with Janelle Grant, but do we know to the extent?
No, probably not.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They may have known that something was going on with her, but not to the extent and the consistency that
But
was
then
actually
also
happening.
remember, Triple H and Stephanie both voted against Vince coming back, and that's why Stephanie left because her dad came back.
Yes.
So I think she made her stance on the whole thing pretty obvious.
Agree.
And it's always complicated when it's family. It's always complicated.
And the thing too, yes, they may be complicit, I guess, in knowing, but you're not going to get much out of the current roster of wrestlers, but you talk to people and you've heard things from Bret Hart and things like that have left. They all knew that Vince was a bit shady and he has been his entire career. Every single person in the locker room probably knew that Vince wasn't the greatest person morally around women. Do you want to get rid of the entire WWE business and say, "Hey, look, you all knew about it. You knew he was shit. Get rid of everybody"? No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
But I think that there are people that definitely didn't know. In terms of you probably heard things, right?
Oh, yeah, there's a difference between having a feeling that Vince is doing something shady to knowing that he's taking this woman in a room and shitting on her head. There's two different things to it.
I feel bad for laughing, but it's just
But because
I'm not lying. It's the truth.
I know, but for me, it's just I have such a vivid imagination. Anytime someone says that, I literally picture old, scraggly Vince McMahon squatting over.
Let's not picture it. Look, I think
imagine if you had tacos the night before.
Stop, Taco Bell. Taco Bell's actually not too bad. I had it up in Queensland.
Surprised you didn't have it on a cruise that you went on once.
No, they didn't have it, mate. They didn't have it.
Okay.
We had a Taco Bell in Townsville.
The point with this, they're key witnesses.
Yeah.
Yes.
They're not if they knew, the prosecution will want to go, we want them on our side because we're going to get Vince because they know key details.
Well, and it's the same with a couple of weeks ago when we talked about with John Laurinaitis, essentially with them putting out the statement saying that we're also victims in this and then him defending himself but also implicating Vince in the same statement. So you're right. It's the prosecution just building up enough people to throw somebody under the bus, and that person's going to be Vince McMahon.
I mean, it could also be even simple as their evidence might not even be that they knew or saw something. It could be, were you here on this day and did you see Vince in the office?
Did
And
Vince
they go,
tell you?
Yes, I was there. And that corroborates with other stuff, and that gets him.
Did
Like, it
Vince
could
tell
be
you to
just
give
simple
this
stuff like
person a
that.
job? Did Vince tell you to move this person to this
Exactly.
section? Yes.
Exactly. And that's all it takes.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, it's got a long way to go. It's got a long way to go. A lot more to wait and see on that one. Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Let's get onto the Hall of Fame. So
getting pretty
obviously, we've got all the, like, not all the inductees. We're still waiting on a couple more. Or at least
Are we?
one.
I think we've got just about everything, right?
Yeah,
There
well-
was the guy on Reddit
Yeah.
who leaked the list, and so far,
It's
he
all
is
been correct.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, yep.
And there, according to his list, there are 2 more people.
So far, to recap, Heyman
Yep.
is the headliner. Paul Nakano, the US Express, Muhammad Ali, and Thunderbolt Patterson have been confirmed so far.
Yep.
The other 2 people he mentioned were Leah Maivia
Yep.
and
We've heard that.
Bray Wyatt.
So it won't be Bray.
No.
But I have heard Liam Ivea because The Rock's got a bit of sway currently.
Well,
And that's
he'll
probably
do
what
a
I thought.
speech,
Like
right? He'll,
Rock's,
'cause he's around.
yeah, Rock's so prevalent right now. Like when I saw that on the list, I was like, yeah, that kind of makes sense.
do you reckon he'll do a 20-minute Instagram post before he does his speech
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
he
recap
will,
it?
100%.
Like I'm loving these like social media posts from The Rock, but why is it that he posts it like a few hours before SmackDown and then just rehashes the whole thing on SmackDown?
Because do you know how many people follow him on Instagram? 400 million people.
Yeah.
Do you know how many people watch SmackDown? Like 1.5 million, 2 million. That's why. Because more people will see his Instagram post and they'll watch the show.
And then they'll tune in and watch him play the best content
and then I'll
ever,
make
which we'll
silly
get
little
to.
TikToks about it, like I did.
Yeah, so look, I think we talked about this before we came on. I don't think Bray's going to get announced. I think they'll save him to be a headline act potentially next year.
Yeah, I think Heyman's your headline this year for sure.
Because, you know, as soon as you announce Bray, he jumps to the top of the list.
Yeah.
Because of the situation.
And it's going to overshadow everyone else. And I feel like it's actually like a very good card this year. As like a bit of a snapshot of like wrestling history and like all different spectrums of wrestling history as well. Like having Bull Nakano in there is great for women's wrestling as well, but it's also good to be showcasing the Japanese side of wrestling
Anthony
as well.
Inoki and that sort of stuff in Japan. And then you got Thunderbolt Patterson wrestled with like the Von Erichs and stuff back in the 70s. Like it's, like you said, it's a broad spectrum of wrestling. It's not a niche, here's these 5 people from the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a nice broad group of people. And Heyman obviously helps cover a large portion of that himself.
Oh, mate.
Now, the question is, who is going to do the introduction for Mr. Heyman?
I've seen a lot of stuff going. I mean, like before it all happened, Brock's the logical choice.
Is he because he can't really talk?
Yeah, I was
though?
gonna-
He's
that'd
not
be
a
my
good
issue with
speech. He's not a good speech.
I've heard people throw around like
about
CM Punk.
Yeah,
Steve
he's the better
Austin.
Paul Heyman guy.
Yeah.
It's got. I reckon it's Punk.
Because him and Punk are very close.
I reckon it's Punk. Unless they want to keep it storyline and they make it do Roman. And they want to run the storyline of the bloodline and stuff through the Hall of Fame. That could make sense to me if you get Roman to do it. But I think Punk.
Do you reckon they might do Steve Austin?
Yeah, maybe, but I
They're
don't.
pretty close.
Yeah, they are close, and obviously had the stuff with him back in ECW when he first came in. But I don't like if I think of Paul Heyman, I don't think of Stone Cold.
No.
If I think of Paul Heyman, I think of Brock Lesnar and I think of CM Punk.
Yeah.
And then I think of ECW, which is like RVD and stuff. But I think most people have said the ECW guys aren't doing it.
No, well, most of them are employed elsewhere, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is a bit of an issue, I guess.
yeah, and WWE have made it pretty obvious that they don't want to necessarily associate.
Well, I read a conflicting report this week that WWE are potentially open to a working relationship with AEW.
Yeah, I think that there needs to be.
Are we going to get Dustin
Well,
Rhodes
you know,
at WrestleMania?
Do you know the thing that we talked
I
about
really hope so.
a couple of weeks ago, where we kind of got a little bit angry at Triple H and WWE for not releasing all of Sting's footage
Yeah.
for AEW? Do you know why they never released it?
Why?
Because AEW never asked for it.
Oh, really?
They never asked.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, that'll do it.
So like everyone was saying, WWE was horrible. AEW didn't reach out and say, can we have his footage? So they never actually said no because they were never asked.
Well, there you go. There you go. Ask and you shall receive, I guess.
Maybe.
But what was the stuff about? Because Kevin Nash apparently reported that he wasn't allowed to
No,
go.
no. So
That was
that's-
also bullshit,
no.
right?
Yeah.
So Sting asked Nash if he would show up, and Nash was open to it. And Sting said, if you come in, this is what we want to do. And Nash just said, I can't get in the ring. I can't do it.
Yeah.
So he was like, I can do no physicality. I'm not getting in the ring.
Didn't want to get in the ring. He didn't want to be on TV either.
Correct. So he was happy to go backstage and support him, like some of the other legends that were there, like Ricky Steamboat and a few others were there. DDP was there. But yeah, the original pitch from Sting was to have like an NWO type thing happen.
Right.
And Nash just said, no, I can't do it.
Can't do it. Okay.
So yeah, again, blown out of proportion.
Yeah.
Well, okay. There you go. So we forgot to mention at the start, and you're the only person who's doing the right thing today because you're wearing green.
Oh,
It is St. Patrick's Day as we record.
I was wearing an Everlast.
So happy St. Patrick's Day. I will be having a Guinness later, to purely medicinal.
Yeah.
But in
Maybe
saying
I should
that,
get some Guinness on the way.
If you had to
you
choose
should get
between
some Guinness.
St. Patrick's Day
I
and
love me
Rusev
some
Day,
Guinness, man.
Which day would you
St. Patrick's Day or Rusev Day, which would you pick?
Rusev Day.
You would. I'll pick St. Patrick's Day. So Becky Lynch, you guys didn't know this, has been invited to the White House
Yeah, I didn't
by
hear
Joe
that.
Biden for their St. Patrick's Day celebrations.
Oh, it's because she's Irish.
Well,
Oh, really?
well done.
That's it.
I don't think she'll be rehashing her original character on NXT though. I don't think she'll be coming out with the ribbon dance.
I don't know. So since
I
we've been
remember
doing,
her.
Oh, dude.
I remember watching her debut and just being like,
since we've been
wow,
doing
this
a
is
whole
great.
bunch of like TikToks and YouTube shorts, I've been sort of going through TikTok more now because of that. And I got one that it was like an NXT promo battle, and it was like very green Charlotte and very green Becky
Yeah.
doing like a promo against each other, and it was really terrible. And then like Becky did the and then like sort of like tiddled off, and I was like, this is so they are so different.
She
now.
must have hated doing that so much.
probably.
So
But did you see the video of her and Rhea with their backstage interaction? It was only from like, I think, 2019
no,
with the Tim Tams.
no, I haven't seen that.
Oh, I'll have to send it to you.
Yeah,
I'll have to send
please
it to
do.
you. So it was this whole thing of, we're going to fight one day, but if we fight, I'm going over.
Yeah.
And it just sort of, it's very much telegraphing what's happening now. And
Yeah.
there was a fight over some Tim Tams. It was pretty funny.
Tim Tams are the greatest. If you don't eat them, they're the best.
But sticking to Becky Lynch,
Her book.
the photo that
The
everybody
photo.
must
The
have
photo.
known had existed has
Dude,
been
that
seen.
that video of the up down guys with like Cody and Bianca and that seeing it,
The reaction.
their reactions are so good.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's great.
Dude, you look at it and you go, of course.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. So if you haven't seen it,
Look
find
what
it.
Logan did with the US title. Look what Mandy Rose did when she won the NXT Women's Championship.
I need to look that one again.
Like, they've all done it.
It was just fitting that Becky had two belts.
Maybe I'll do that one
It was
day.
just fitting she had two belts.
Maybe I'll
big
do it.
gold on big gold. Hey.
Or maybe I'll do another title that we get soon.
Oh yeah.
Oh, okay.
No spoilers. No
new
spoilers.
edition.
I'll do a special unveiling.
I don't think I read this in the chat, so I don't know. 'Cause
I'll do
I
a
think this all happened
special.
when
No,
was
I
crook, so
told Dan in person.
Yeah, but he's forgotten
on
about it,
Friday.
so don't tell him again.
I don't know which one
Alright.
it is. So
I'll do a
I'm gonna be
special
pleasantly
unveiling
surprised when I see it.
on social media, and then I'll bring it WrestleMania weekend.
Do another
so you guys can
unpacking
have a look at
video.
it. That's what I'm going to do.
Yeah, we will.
Perfect.
We'll do it.
Perfect.
We'll have
Because I bought a
new
belt and I bought some side plates too.
Yeah. Yeah, it's gonna be a good belt.
I'm
Anyway,
excited.
back to
Pumped,
that
mate.
book. Yeah, it's
Yes.
hilarious.
I
That
actually might
photo.
buy that book. I
will.
have been reading a fair bit lately. I've read 4 books this year already.
I'm so proud of you, Reece. Well done.
Me smart.
That's 3 more than me.
It's 4 more than me.
Like I've been eyeing off the Stone Cold one because I haven't read that.
You need to
I
borrow
haven't read the Eddie one. I had the Batista one. I had the Jericho one. So
Yeah, I've
I've
read all of
both
those. Obviously,
So I might borrow them
That's why
at
they're
some
here.
point.
Yeah, go for it.
Dude, awesome.
Yeah, I might buy the Becky one. Because I just like, from my perspective, I love understanding how people function, like, at home sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like, I love autobiographies of musicians and wrestlers and stuff because you get to know, like, how they are as people, what they did to get to where they are and all that sort of stuff. And it's really, like, eye-opening seeing things from that like,
I
backstage
remember-
perspective. That's why I've always loved all that, like, behind-the-scenes backstage stuff, like WWE 24, whenever they do the WrestleMania
Yeah.
ones. Like,
And
I
Total
love
Divas,
watching
like
that
you
shit.
love Total Divas.
That's just for the drama. Sometimes it's good to get a lot of drama.
I do remember the Jericho books were some of my favorites. They're really, really interesting, especially the stories that he writes in them about, his original time in Canada and down in Mexico and stuff like that. Some really interesting stuff. Mick Foley's ones were really, really
Him
good
and
too.
Haku having a fight at the airport.
Yep. But yeah, I reckon Becky's book would be good. I'd be interesting to see her input, because she's had a very varied career, I guess. Like we talked about the stuff in NXT, headlining WrestleMania, being the man, all the stuff with Nia. Like it'll be a good read.
Yeah.
100%. 100%. So let's get on to some of the stuff we've seen in the shows in the last week. And I think the big one, really, other than the debut that was telegraphed, Rock. Rock is at his
Mate.
absolute best.
100%.
We're starting with SmackDown, are we?
Yeah.
Well, we're starting with The Rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're starting with The Rock.
Just watching that social media one, like that, he out of the 3, 4 by now that he's done, I think it's
4.
3. This is the one he put out yesterday before SmackDown is the
to Mama
best
Rhodes,
one
where he's
that
gonna-
he's done.
Yeah.
Whip her son with the belt.
But
and
like
there's blood all over
like
it.
we've touched about the other promos where he says like something 3 times and then gets to the point. There wasn't really a lot of that in this promo. It was just
There's
like,
a bit, but not as much.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why I felt like this one was a lot better. And then like
Off is the direction you can fuck. He's done that twice in a row. He really loves that line. He really
well,
does.
I completely missed it from the cowboy one last
Yeah, he
week.
did it
and then
there
I saw it this week. I was like, that's great. I love it. Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. And then like just getting a rock concert. That's the best rock concert we've got as well.
As soon as I saw the setup, I'm like, it's happening. I'm going back to my childhood.
We get a
It's
rock
happening.
concert. We get the Hollywood rock theme back.
Yep.
Albeit
that was
a
good.
remixed version. but-
Hopefully, like I said to you guys before, I hope this was just the 1 week where they had to remix it because it wasn't too jarring for everybody.
yeah.
It was original theme,
But like, dude,
Hollywood theme. Now we can just go Hollywood theme.
the pop that I've been seeing on like TikTok,
Everyone
Instagram,
loves it.
everyone's
yeah.
just like, I watched one guy and he was just like, they started doing the change and then it hit and he was just like, he jumped out of his chair. He was
So did
running around
Sanji.
his room
Sanji
going
did the same
crazy.
thing. Yeah.
Oh, so
Like,
good.
the music is fitting. He's got the silk back. One thing I found interesting from this whole segment was the very faceness of it.
Yeah,
I love you
Edward
too.
didn't.
I
it
love you
didn't-
too.
It didn't come across heel until he started talking about Michelle, Cody's mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like that whole finishing segment and just the whole like, I'll give you this belt covered in your son's blood and your tears, and I'll lean in and I'll whisper, "What can I say except you're welcome?"
Yeah, I know. That was
That was
pretty
a good
I was
That
just,
was pretty
I
good.
popped for that. I was like, oh,
good.
holy shit.
The thing with it, I think too, is that he was, like you said, he started in Memphis, Tennessee. Like
Yeah.
that's where he first came up. It was home to him, and you knew as soon as he walked out, he was getting cheered.
Yeah.
So he was not going to be
massive.
able to do a heel promo.
He was finding it very hard to keep the smile off his face when he was walking in.
Oh,
You
for
could
sure.
see that straight
Yeah.
away. You could see. But the fact that, there was that one time because I thought, stop saying I love you, Rock. It's not helping. But then when he went, you sound like the type of woman I love, drunk and horny. And then I think there was this look on his face where he went, my wife's going to kill me.
Speaking
there
of,
was a look.
I saw a TikTok apparently in the background while he was doing the rock concert. Some lady like lifted her top up, so they had to like black the screen out again.
Really?
Oh, really? I didn't see that.
He is just bringing so much out in people. Like you had the Die Rockies Die sign a few weeks back that they had to black
But have
out.
you noticed too that on Instagram and stuff now, WWE are like highlighting people's signs?
Yes. Yes.
And they're like, show us your signs. I love it.
they
Bring
did,
them all
they,
back
they did it on
for-
the show, yeah.
Yeah,
they
but
talked
they
about
did
it.
it on the show. They showed cameras of
Look at some of
everything.
the shots back in the 90s. It was just like
was signs
everyone
everywhere.
in the crowd had a sign, and it was just like everywhere.
I think they're really trying to channel Attitude Era.
Is this how I used to sound on the podcast?
Yes, it is.
Just like, did I sound like that? I'm so sorry, everybody.
Well, you were a bit more Mickey Mouse, to be honest with you, mate. I've gone down an octave. You went up.
I did? Okay, all right, fair enough.
But they are really leaning into it because they want, like, you look back at the Attitude Era where, like, you
Everybody
couldn't
had
see
signs.
people for
Everyone.
signs.
Yeah.
Right?
Agree.
And I said to Morgan, we were watching it together, and when The Rock came out, I said, you are getting to relive, or you're getting to live what I'm reliving because this
Yes.
is my childhood. Yeah. The Rock concert, like, that is
So I just
seared
want
in my
to
memory.
I want to quote the Cody part of the rock concert because I think
Please
this
do.
is probably the
Please
best, the
do.
best bit of it.
Please do.
Dusty's youngest son was just what he feared. He tried to raise him right, but he turned out too weird. And
Stardust.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
loved it.
That's why Dusty said, with total frustration, the drugs and cheap condoms was a bad combination. I know it keeps Cody awake to know he wasn't planned and he was a mistake. Like, whoa. And then the Seth one. Cackling and dancing is all that you do. No wonder that your wife's more popular than you. You're so damn desperate to make them all cheer. But The Rock is going to make that title disappear. You're simply an embarrassment, son, just like Ja Morant when he's waving a gun. And that
Now, I don't get that reference.
so Ja
No,
Morant
no.
is a basketball player, and I'm pretty sure he got caught in maybe he played for the Grizzlies, Memphis.
Yeah.
And he got caught like at a nightclub sort of thing, like one in the
Waving a
morning,
gun
just
around.
waving a gun around. He got arrested and stuff. And
Right.
they had to suspend him.
Because they were very quick, him and the guys playing with him, the guy
Yeah.
doing the harmonica, were like, we love you, bro. So obviously they must be friends with him, and it was just
That and I think
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Ja Morant plays for the Memphis Grizzlies, so like that's
Right,
why he's a hometown
And
guy.
that's another thing. Like instead of The Rock playing the guitar, having them on the announce table with the guitar, like those two
harmonica
guys and the
too.
harmonica, it just raised it another level.
Yeah.
The whole segment was fantastic. There was a part of me that wished it went a little bit longer. But I think it was.
I think
it was a good
like
time.
seeing as like Rock's been pretty prominently going overtime. The fact that
He started. Yeah.
he started and it kept to less than half an hour.
Yeah.
I was pretty happy with because like the rest of SmackDown still got decent time as well, and it didn't feel like anything got cut.
Yeah, because
Like
of
any
it,
time
yep.
got cut. So
Now
positive there.
we're going to jump over to another show, Dan.
Oh, we're
And I know you're going to
between
hate
shows. Okay.
it. I know you're going to hate it. But
AEW.
we're going to talk about it before we get onto the WrestleMania card
Okay.
because this feeds into it.
Okay.
I'll get the WrestleMania.
A bit of backlash online.
Oh, we're talking about Raw.
We're
I thought we were going
about-
to AEW.
No. We're talking
Candice
about Raw.
LeRae
We're
said.
talking about Sammy.
Oh, okay. We'll talk to Candice later then. All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sammy.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we'll touch on that too. Actually, let's go to that first.
Okay. All right.
Let's go there first. So Maxine, Dupree, and Ivy
Nile,
Nile were in a
yep.
tag match against Indy Hartwell and Candice LeRae.
Yep.
Yes.
Maxine was actually going pretty good before this incident happened.
So it was a few moves, yes.
Yeah.
The
they
full,
looked
the
good,
full
yes.
context is 2.5 weeks ago, whatever, on a house show, she got booed because it was bad. And then last week, they were all backstage, and Natty said that, she wasn't that good. And then Candice said, you're not good enough to be with us, and was a bit rude to her, and then she stormed out. And now we've got this tag match, and then continue storytelling.
So essentially, Maxine's about to do like the reverse caterpillar.
So if you actually
What
watch...
do you call it? Is that what you call it?
It's
Like-
a reverse caterpillar.
Yeah.
She on her podcast when she had a chat with Chris Van Vliet, she said how difficult it is to do the forward one. Like you can't do it. It's really hard. So like Otis, full respect for him to do it. She can do it backwards way better.
Yeah.
So that's why she's doing the backwards.
And like
one.
that was always the thing. Like that move, it was always like when you'd see people do it in nightclubs and on TV and in movies and shit, they do it backwards.
Yeah.
Because it's easier.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to push yourself backwards.
But not when you're Otis, baby.
Or Scotty Too Hottie.
Oh.
Like let's not forget
Legend.
the OG.
Scotty Too Hottie walked, so Otis
Could run.
Could run or roll. So anyway, Maxine's looking to do this move on Indy in the corner. Candice LeRae's come into the ring, stood over Indy, stopped Maxine and said, "No, there's no way you're doing that rubbish."
It looks stupid.
Walks her back into the corner, tells her it's a good thing your brother's dead,
So he won't be embarrassed.
so he wouldn't
by
be
this.
embarrassed by this. This is another example of WWE pivoting and using what the crowd is going for. What do you think of it?
I think this went from 0 to 100 way too quickly.
Oh, 100%.
Like I don't have a problem with Candice LeRae going heel.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with using, as long as Maxine allows you, using her family story, because obviously her
I'm
brother
sure they would have
died a
talked
couple
about
years
that
ago. I
beforehand,
agree,
but yeah.
but not week 2.
No. So if they were to rehash this, I'd say like, because the comment that she made before with that was, oh, you think the internet wrestling community hates you, you should hear what the girls backstage say in the locker room.
Yeah.
Leave it at that and build this feud for like week or two more and then make the brother comment.
It just went. It went
was
too
just
hard too
like
fast.
I
that.
think
and it was just
I-
like all the reactions on TikTok, everyone's just like, holy shit, did she just say that?
Yeah.
Like,
And everyone's gone, LA Knight's dead. Sorry, I shouldn't make fun.
Max Dupree.
No, but I think the reason, now that I think about it, I think the reason is to stop people booing her. Because if you say her brother's dead, everyone's going to be like, oh, I can't boo her now. It's
Yeah, okay.
It's,
Well,
to stop
it's a
it.
pretty good tactic. It's like
It'll work.
Roman
Oh,
Reigns having
100%,
leukemia.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Dude, that works big time.
The fact that people still think that's a conspiracy is...
Let's not get into it.
Yeah, that's look,
Oh, let me guess. You guys are,
no,
aren't you?
No, not at all.
I'm all
Ted
for,
is.
like I said, I'm all for Candice. I'm very interested to see how this whole dynamic plays out, because I think I said to you last week that they're probably just going to switch like Candice to be with Natty because they're now both the grumpy, veteran girls, and Tegan will go with Indy as the we don't want to be bad people. Because you could tell when like that happened, and then Indy hit the big boot on Maxine without knowing what had happened.
And
in the
Indy
corner.
didn't want to have a bar. She's like, why are you being so mean?
Yeah,
Like,
and
what are you
Candice is
doing?
like, cover her. And she's like,
Yeah.
but what? Cover her. And all right, because she's not evil like Candice is.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see how they play that story out, because we've said this for a while with the women's wrestling, and like especially in the tag stuff, like there hasn't been a story other than like Candice and not Candice, Chelsea and Piper Niven with their stuff. None of the other characters had anything to them. They were just two women that were wrestling for the titles for some apparent reason.
Yeah.
This is a story. So hopefully they let this play out. But yeah, I think it was just a little too hard too quickly.
Okay. All right. skipping over to Sammy, Intercontinental
Mr.
title.
Zayn.
Intercontinental title. So the gauntlet match.
Let's talk Sammy and then talk about the other confirmed matches for WrestleMania.
Yes.
I've got the card up here.
Well, let's talk about this gauntlet match because, like,
This gauntlet match
man.
is so goddamn good.
Definitely deserved to be the main event.
I-
all the participants were very good in the whole thing.
do you know what I love?
Ricochet and JD starting off.
So
Dude.
That
this was the
starting
point.
segment was absolutely amazing. Like,
went hard.
I don't think anyone expected it from those two.
But this is the thing, right? Ricochet's been off TV for 2-3 months. He hasn't really done anything. Everyone's like, oh, he's useless. He's just mid-card fodder. Who cares about Ricochet? You put him in this match and give him 15 minutes. Like, holy shit, I forgot how good Ricochet was.
Yeah.
It's all he needed.
Him and JD had very good chemistry.
I
It
love
was- it
JD.
was beautiful.
I've loved him for years.
Can I just put a point? Is he the new Dolph Ziggler?
Yes.
Who? JD.
Yeah.
JD, yeah.
His selling is fantastic.
Yep. It's always been good.
He makes it look so good. But I'd love to see those two have like a good PLE match. I really would. They were cooking. And then the whole story with Sammy, right? I'm not skipping ahead a little bit, but with Bronson attacking him after he'd been eliminated.
Yep.
Yeah. Still overcoming
It made
Shinsuke.
it very interesting because that's when I thought, hang on a minute. Is this like Chad? They don't want Chad to win with Sammy being injured. That doesn't make sense.
I think they booked a perfect gauntlet match for Sammy to win if it wasn't Chad Gable.
Yeah.
If Chad Gable wasn't him and it was a heel Randy Orton.
Yeah.
And heel Randy Orton comes in last. Sammy's just, he's been destroyed.
Yeah.
And Sammy finally overcomes him. Perfect gauntlet match.
Yeah.
But the problem you had was that everybody wanted Chad to win. And a lot of people also wanted Sammy to win.
Yeah.
And so you got to the end and you're like, oh, we're happy with
You were-
either of them. Congratulations. But like,
I think everyone was just
someone was going to be
expecting
disappointed. One way or the
Gable to
other.
win. And
Yeah.
like that's part of the problem. Like there's been a lot of backlash online. Like it's even gotten back to Sammy, and I've read some stuff that Sammy's really cut up about the feedback because it was like everyone's behind him and then he wins this match and now it's just like
It's because everyone's just more
it's
behind Chad.
literally if Gable was not in that match, there would be no backlash
true.
whatsoever.
Yep.
Other than the fact that Gable wasn't in the match, that probably would have been
Yeah.
the only backlash. Yeah.
Poor Chatty
But
Gable.
it's interesting, right? Because I can see what they're trying to do and the reason behind it.
Yeah.
Because literally,
Yeah. Like, it's
they
been-
are
it's
giving
been a
the
few weeks.
Intercontinental title so much prestige. Because what it's doing is not everyone can have it. You know what I mean? Like there's someone who's that good who doesn't get a shot.
He's so good.
And that's what they're trying to build, is you have multiple people that deserve a shot. but not everyone
That
gets it.
spot, like there was a couple of spots. The spot with the roll up from Sammy and then the instant roll up from Chad that he kicked it, that was perfect. The Chaos Theory suplex,
Yep.
one to kick out, roll straight into the ankle lock.
Oh, dude. so
Like,
good.
This match, like you have to give full credit to Sammy and Chad. Like the whole gauntlet match was good, but their last 10 minutes was chef's kiss good.
Yeah.
They could have had that match without the gauntlet part of it, and it also standalone would have been great. But the gauntlet.
Do you imagine if we got them in like a 25-minute match?
Oh, dude.
It would have been ridiculous.
But in saying that, you've mentioned that there is a match signing
I think.
potentially. Do you think there might still be a chance to sneak Chatty Gable into this match?
I don't know. I don't know if you want to add Chad to it now, and then either him or Sammy have to lose at WrestleMania. I'm kind of happy that if Sammy stays in this match, Gunther retains.
yeah.
But I think if Chad goes into this match, Chad has to win it.
That makes sense. Yeah, good point.
So I think that Sammy
That's a very
stays
good point.
through. Gunther can retain at WrestleMania, and then
He's
you
got to
can-
go. He's got to go to Berlin with the title, right? He's got
he's got to go to Berlin for the world title.
Yeah.
So either he
That-
drops
that's
it,
my
he
preference.
drops it now, and then he goes for the world title, or he goes. I'm also happy for him to carry 2 belts into Berlin. Yeah. Him as the Intercontinental Champion to face, assumingly Drew McIntyre.
That's what I wanted for WrestleMania this year.
Could you imagine Gunther versus Drew for the world title in Berlin?
Oh,
dude, that'd be huge.
so good.
Their chests would be purple. But
Broken
yeah,
blood vessels. For
look,
days.
I love Sammy. I'm a big supporter of him. Obviously, I keep on trying to get you guys to watch some El Generico matches, which we actually watched one.
We watched
and
one.
it was fantastic.
It was really good. I told
So
you.
now
guys.
you can
Yeah,
shut
but
up
why are you
about
getting
it.
me to watch El Generico matches? You should be getting me to watch Sami Zayn
That's
matches.
a good point. Sorry, that's my mistake.
They're not even the same person.
Totally different person.
Idiot.
But I'm happy for Sammy. I think, like I said, Sammy goes to WrestleMania and he loses, but if Chad goes, he wins. So I'm happy for.
That's a good point.
Because what they've always said, right, and what WWE has pointed us in the last couple of weeks, Sammy's story has been I don't have a match at WrestleMania. I'm not on the card. I need to be on WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Chad's story has
I
been,
have to win the belt.
I have to beat Gunther.
Yeah.
I have to get the title.
Yeah.
Not at WrestleMania.
Yeah.
You could do it that Sammy gets all the way through, loses to Gunther, Gunther's the rest, and then the Raw after WrestleMania, Chad comes out and says, I want my shot now, and Chad wins on the Raw after WrestleMania.
And let's be honest, we've already got a couple
the
of titles that are telegraphed to be changing hands.
Oh, according to some of the people I've been seeing on TikTok, every title's changing hands.
Gunther
at
beats
WrestleMania.
Sammy,
Nah,
then
I
Gunther
think
loses
Which
to
is
Gable
not-
the next
I think
night.
Gunther retains.
I'm calling it. Gunther beat
No,
loses.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. You've really convinced me because I didn't think of that. The fact that if Chad's in, he has to win.
Yep.
Whereas now Sammy, there's that, he could win, but if he loses, it's not a loss.
Correct.
A big props to Sammy for pulling out the effort in that gauntlet match, being in
dude.
Ramadan.
Yeah.
So hadn't
yeah.
eaten all day.
Dude, I don't know how
know how he
anyone,
does it, man.
or any athletes that do the fasting, hats off to him, man. Seriously, that is an effort.
I think it was Emre Gula for the Raiders
Yep,
as well.
did the same thing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Did the same thing. Up the milk. How'd the Eels go?
Shut up, Ted.
Anyway, this is a podcast
talk
about
wrestling.
wrestling.
Talk about WrestleMania.
So let's talk
go.
about the rest of WrestleMania. We'll talk about the first, the match that was telegraphed, one of the matches that was telegraphed this week that we're excited for. Triple threat for the US title.
Yep, very
Logan
happy
Paul
about that.
Versus KO and Randy Orton.
RKO KO.
As I've said several times, I thought there was a lot of unfinished business with KO and Logan, so I'm happy they've put him in that match.
Yep.
And like having Randy versus Logan after what happened at Elimination Chamber just makes sense. So I'm happy they slid Kevin into that match.
I
as
love
well. And
the
it's going to be
fact-
really good that they're like what you're probably about to say. It's like the fact that Randy and KO are getting along
Yep.
at the moment. And
But also,
kind
like,
of going to
they're
be like,
teasing that, I'm going to hit,
Yeah,
yeah, okay,
yeah,
no, I'm
it's-
not.
yeah,
I see you.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's really good. No, what I was going to say was I loved the selling for the last 2 weeks from Austin Theory.
Oh, dude.
The week last week with
The pop-up RKO.
RKO was sick, and then this week.
Stunner
the stunner
an
into the
RKO.
RKO.
But did you watch the clip I sent you guys from them backstage?
No, I didn't
So
see
Theory and Waller were walking around backstage, and Theory was just like, rubbing his head, and Waller's like, "It's all right, mate. Like you'll get better and stuff." And he's like, "But I just every time he's like, I got a stunner, and I hit with the stunner. I thought maybe if I jump, I'll get out of the way of everything. But then it was straight into an RKO."
Look, I think Austin Theory is really helping himself because, we talked about this last year. He was getting a little bit boring. Everyone's like, when he was the US champ as well. Now, I think he's looked at it and gone, let me just work on my in-ring selling and everything else. He's becoming popular again. I think we're going to see him go back up the card either later this year
Yeah,
or
him
early next
and
year.
Grayson will
Is
for sure.
he your new Dolph Ziggler?
I think he's the current Dolph Ziggler with JD threatening to
to take over.
Right, okay.
So that's another match that's been added. I actually did save the other matches, but you've got them there too, right?
Yeah.
So then we've now formally, as of Raw and SmackDown, we got the Yeet versus No Yeet match formalized.
Well, let's talk about the ones that have already been telegraphed for specific nights.
Yep.
So night one is the Bloodline versus Cody and Seth.
Yes,
We know that's night one.
Yes.
More than likely the main event. Let's be honest.
it is.
Yeah.
They've already said
It is. Yeah,
It is.
It's,
Yeah,
Yeah, because
it's amazing.
Seth has said this is his first technical main event.
And then that means that night two, we have both major men's titles on
Yes.
night two.
Correct.
So I would assume one will open and one will close.
Well, Cody and Roman
and
closes.
Roman
So
closes. yeah.
Seth and Drew, most likely, I'm telling you, 17 seconds.
I swear to fucking God, if they do that again,
Maybe not 17 seconds, but I don't think it's going to be very long. I think
what?
5
Like,
minutes.
what?
5 minutes.
Becky's going to come out to the ring with him. He's going to kiss Becky on the cheek and then turn around into a claymore.
Yeah, because she's going to be wearing some belts. But that's the only ones we know what nights they're on.
Yeah.
The other matches that we've got, and we'll talk about them a bit more, but we'll obviously name them off. Io Sky versus Bayley for the title. Rhea versus Becky for the title. Gunther versus Sammy for Intercontinental. Judgment Day against 5 other teams in a 6-pack ladder match.
Which is a very confusing way of getting there,
So-
but okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
LA Knight versus AJ, which is more than likely going to be a no holds barred or no
I
disqualification.
I don't think a straight up singles match will do for that one.
No.
I think they need to
It's going to be
have
no
some
DQ
sort
or
of
something. Or a Philadelphia street fight.
Jey Uso versus Jimmy.
I think story wise, this might be one of the standouts from WrestleMania. I feel like they've got to put on an absolute
versus no
showing. Yeah.
I'm
saying going to say
It'll be a
now,
good match.
it's going to be a dark horse for one of the matches of the.
the comment that I
the
had
weekend.
to that is I don't think 6 months ago any of us thought Jey Uso was going to be this over. He is so over as a babyface. The fact that he walks out and the entire crowd does this with him. And
they're all saying yeet after every sentence.
Have you noticed? Because they do the tidbits from 2K24.
Tidbits?
Yeah.
Jey Uso is the third most played player.
Really? Okay.
Globally.
Interesting.
Cody's number 1. Roman's number 2.
Yeah.
Jay's number 3.
That's
Seth
interesting.
Rollins is number 5.
Yeah, Randy's up there high. isn't
Randy's
he?
number 4.
Yeah, I was going to say Randy's
Seth
high.
is 5th.
Yeah, I think Jay being this popular, we didn't really predict.
No.
But I think it's going really well. And the fact that on the SmackDown, when she went to talk to Paul Heyman and said, what does the bloodline think about what Jay said? And then Jimmy just got in there and cut a super passionate, crazy-eyed Jimmy promo. Perfect. It's exactly what we wanted for this. Everyone was saying, oh, well, they don't have enough time to get the storyline, blah, blah, blah.
It's been building.
They'll cook it.
For the
They'll cook
past
it real quick.
year. Like,
I just want Rikishi. Bring me some Rikishi, please.
No.
Well, maybe he is going to come out when they're absolutely beating the crap out of
I
each
get
other.
it.
He's
I
like,
get
don't
that.
hurt your brother.
I get that people want Rikishi to be like special guest ref or whatever. I feel like just give those two their moment. Just those two. Don't get family involved in it. Just have it be
But it's
them two for the
it's
story.
Blood for blood. Brother versus brother. Oos versus oos. Like, they've called it a family match.
I know,
It's
but
what
you
they're
don't
billing it
have to.
as.
Just let them have their moment.
But he's already done it, Reece. He said oos versus oos. Brother versus brother. Blood versus blood.
Exactly. Let them have their moment.
But
together.
who is like Papa Oos? Rikishi.
I don't care.
I would prefer him to be...
I want to see
You
Rikishi
just
in
call
the
him
ring.
Papa Oos.
I did call him Papa Oos.
He's not feeling very Papa Oosy.
Trademark down under the mat. I would much prefer Rikishi to be involved in it than if they do the lame bit, like, I say lame, but not always. Like, Rikishi's just front row and like the camera cuts to him a few different times where he's just watching them fight. I hate that. It's okay when it's like with Sammy's wife and kids or Chad's wife and kids. It's fine. But if you just picture Rikishi in the crowd watching, I'm like, nah, don't do it. Either don't show him and have nothing to do with him whatsoever, or put him in the storyline. That's it.
And what do we do about Solo as well? Do you want him worked into the story as well?
Some people miss out, man.
He'll be part of the
Oh,
bloodline.
but it's
rules.
family.
No, he'll be bloodline rules and stuff. I don't think he'll get involved in this.
He might get involved in the tag match, potentially. I think more than
Oh,
this.
100%. 100%.
Yeah, and obviously, like, EO versus Bailey, they're
Mhm.
cooking, but I think it's getting lost a little bit, which it shouldn't. It deserves to be up there.
Io kind of got overshadowed on SmackDown as well until she had that face off with Bailey.
Well,
She has been the whole time, though.
Yeah. It's
I really do
ridiculous. That belt is 100% changing hands.
Yes,
I
absolutely.
seriously think, and I'm going to stick with it, Dakota's doing a double bluff. 100%. I'm feeling Dakota's doing a double bluff.
You don't know
Remember,
enough
I
about
said
Dakota
it here
Kai.
first. Said it here first.
We've
Double bluff.
watched NXT. We
Yeah.
know that's not Dakota.
Ted doesn't
Okay,
get it.
okay.
Ted doesn't get it.
That's maybe why they're doing it, because it's not expected, Dan. Well, let's get on to the big debut, shall we? Because we're getting...
Well, do we
getting
want
close
to
time.
finish talking about WWE before we go to?
I do want to talk very briefly about the little tournament that they're doing on SmackDown. I 100% think
The tag team.
New Catch Republic is getting through to that six-pack ladder match.
for sure.
We had Ray come back on SmackDown.
Yeah.
So
So him versus Santos at WrestleMania, they've got to fit in somewhere too, by the way.
It's next week, buddy.
Yeah, but they'll do
Well,
a match. at
here's
WrestleMania.
my theory. They're having the match next week. It's gonna be dodgy. Like, both teams will come out, they'll fight, yada yada. Maybe they'll set up for a 6-man tag match.
Yeah.
Legado del Fantasma
Yep.
against Ray,
Yeah.
Carlito,
Yeah.
and Dragon Lee.
Yeah. I think
That's
so.
my call.
It's a good match.
6-man tag match for WrestleMania.
I like the LWO,
and that's
but-
where you get
That'll
people
probably be
on
a
the
pre-show
card.
match, right? What do you reckon?
No, it
Pre-show?
could be on night 1 or night 2. Like, that's fine for a match.
Or what about WrestleMania SmackDown?
No. I think one night you probably get your Bobby Lashley and Street Profits against the Fire Testament.
I don't.
That's going to happen.
No,
We fucking know it is. Don't
I
worry.
don't care
That's
about
a
it
pre-show
anymore.
match if ever I've heard it.
But
I
then the
don't
other
care
night
about
you'll
it
get
anymore.
LWO versus Legado Foundation.
Street Profits are fighting Authors of Pain next week to progress through the tag
Yeah,
title
but
tournament.
of that group, I think it's Street Profits, Authors of Pain, somebody else, and then Waller and Theory. I reckon Waller and Theory wins that bracket and get through. I
that'd
reckon
be cool.
they're in that 6-man ladder match
I would love that.
because I reckon they will do some crazy spots.
Yeah.
And I reckon they'll be in there, and I think New Catch Republic will be in there, and there'll be Judgment Day, and there'll be Miz and Awesome Truth, and there'll be somebody else. I can't remember. DIY will be the other team.
Yeah.
And I reckon the way that it finishes is that R-Truth grabs the Raw titles, and somebody else grabs the SmackDown titles and they pull them down separately. And that is how they split the titles.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Yeah, that's what I reckon is going to happen. Because
put that on
R-Truth
TikTok earlier this
R-Truth
week.
doesn't think to grab both belts. He just grabs the one.
Yeah.
That's a good way to do it. It's a good way to do it.
I'm a
That's
thinking
funny, man.
Oh,
What
let's-
else? What else did you have?
I mean, talking about Raw, we've already talked about the Candace stuff.
Yep.
The Judgment Day titles we just mentioned there. The
Yeah.
Gauntlet match was sick.
Yep.
The only other thing I knew was the Drew and Seth promo, which I think was, again, really good and builds them. And I'm glad they're letting that focus come back to Drew a little bit.
Yeah.
They need to.
The Bloodline stuff was sort of taking Seth over, but that was good.
Oh, but Seth's the bottom. Seth has Drew on the bottom of his things that he's concerned about.
This is why I'm telling you there's a squash match coming.
It's not a squash.
It's
but
coming.
It's going to be a very
I think
dominant
Drew will
win.
dominate.
I don't think any of us watched NXT,
No, I haven't.
so we missed that one, unfortunately. Sorry. But I did see that
Trick Kish.
Kiss Lash Legend.
Okay.
Cool, I guess.
Yep. All right.
We'll get to AEW afterwards.
Her acting was
SmackDown-
terrible in that scene.
Yeah, SmackDown was the Hollywood Rock theme, and then the rock concert we saw.
Yep.
The RKO. LA Knight finally got a promo. Like, he hadn't been on TV forever. Like, they've been giving him really shitty backstage spots and stuff. Finally gets out there.
Out
He hasn't
there,
wrestled
yeah.
in ages. The him and AJ thing is good. That's like you said, should be a street fight.
Yeah.
And then the Naomi saving Bailey stuff, which was cool. But I think that ties into a bit, like you said, I think that's overshadowing Io. Because I know Bailey is saying that she needs to go through every person of Damage Control first before she gets to Io, trying to set Io as the final boss, but like she's not
No.
having final boss
No.
vibes. Different sort of
She's not the Rock.
The other thing we
Sorry.
haven't got on the Mania card too is the women's tag titles.
Correct. There's got to be something there eventually. Well, you said it might be Bianca and Naomi.
I feel like they can get along to go for the tag titles.
Yeah,
But
well,
Bianca
that's-
just currently doesn't give a shit about Bailey because obvious reasons.
Yeah, that's probably fair.
I don't think you're making the Eels game, mate. Sorry, it's the Canberra game.
It starts at 11, right?
And the Raiders game's at 6 p.m. That's
It is
seven
not gonna go
hours.
for-
It actually starts at 9.
What
Oh, with all the
pre-show?
pre-shows.
No one gives a shit about pre-show.
Oh,
dude.
come on, man.
It's all right. I'm
The Final Testament.
It'll be on. It'll be on all weekend. Don't worry.
No, but like, they're not going to have a 2-night WrestleMania with 6-7 hours each night. It's not going to happen. It's not going to. Mark my words.
I'm marking
It
them.
will be at least 4.5 hours night one.
Yeah, it'll be 5 hours.
I reckon it's going to be closer to 4.5, 5 hours each night. More than likely.
No, you can
I'm just
the
trying to
Para
upset
game.
Dan. I mean, why would you want to go watch the Eels get beaten by Canberra anyway?
You know what? I'm going to laugh if we lose, hey?
We probably will. Have you seen the Eels play, mate? They're actually quite good. Anything else, Dan, from Raw that you need to...
No, I think that's WWE for the week. I think we've covered everything.
Yep. Let's get over to Monet.
Well, the debut that's been telegraphed for about 6 months plus. Boston.
6 months is a bit generous.
No, come on, man. It's been since like All In last year. We knew that she was going to eventually turn up at AEW.
Yeah, but they only really did the Boston stuff since like January.
Yeah.
And she's been hired for 2 months and getting paid to do nothing.
Yes.
Yep.
Correct.
So,
On a
The headline I
supposedly
have-
$10 million a year contract, which is
Boston,
absolute.
is Mercedes really worth the money?
No.
Discuss.
Nope.
Discuss.
No.
Okay. As the one person here who watches AEW probably
Consistently.
fairly consistently, I guess,
Yeah.
compared to you guys. I think the comment that I sent to the group chat, maybe to the AEW marks, sorry boys, was that I said, "Has everybody seen the opening promo? Can I now start calling her Mercedes?"
No, I'm inclined to agree with that.
Because look, the presentation for her was great. The fact that she pulled up out the back in a stretch limo, which was a Mercedes.
Oh, I didn't even see that
You didn't
part.
click onto that part. It was a Mercedes limo, and then they opened the door, and then she came out. Really cool. Like I think she is the best thing for their women's division. She'll give them.
Oh, man, I'd swear. We've touched on it the last few weeks.
This for Deonna Purrazzo.
No.
Oh, is it this for Mariah May?
No,
oh,
it's
is it
fact
this for
like-
Tony Storm.
I really hope like this is the tipping point for their women's division,
I hope so
and it
too.
starts being showcased better because they have a lot of standout talent,
They do.
and they just don't get the time every week. It's ridiculous.
There's the two issues that I had, or the one main issue I had with the presentation of this was she looked like a superstar. She looked fantastic. She came out,
CEO.
that I hated that.
The fact that it was part of the music, I think maybe you do that for a couple times, and then you need to take it out of the
Yes,
entrance
give her back
music.
her New Japan theme.
And also, like, why are they stealing the symphony?
guitar?
Yeah.
Because it's sick. That's why.
well, it's copyright free music, so that's why.
Yeah, I know, but
But I don't like the fact that they had to put the CEO chants in her music. I get that is to get the audience cheering, and that's exactly what happened.
the audience,
And they got the
like,
sound.
maybe I'm giving the AEW crowd too much credit, but they would have caught on. If the Titantron's going CEO, people
Dude,
would have called on. They would have started chanting.
The AEW audience, when it comes to chants, are hands down the best audience for chants.
Yeah, they're good at it.
They really are.
They're
Like,
no
you don't
UK
need to
crowd.
lead them. You don't need to lead them. They will do it. They will do it. Yeah? Like, unlike WWE, where you have to add woe into your song.
For them to sing to it. I mean, I also commented on one of the posts and stuff online somewhere that how Dynamite's now got the two things, and there's the face and the heel tunnel. She came out of the face tunnel, surprise. And someone said, no, she didn't. They come out of the middle. There's no one that comes out. It's the same tunnel. I'm like, no, it's not. There's two very clear circles.
There's two tunnels.
There is the middle part, which is the Cody Vader, which the Elite come out of.
Yeah, but like, I think what they were trying to say is like they all come out through the same way and then they just like go through.
But it's two different tunnels.
Why point that out?
It's two different tunnels. One's
They
a heel
come
tunnel,
from the
one's-
same backstage area.
Well, they're all in the same building. Yeah, no shit. Yeah, look, I think the presentation of it was really good. It was telegraphed, I think, the fact that Willow and Riho was the main event, that she was coming back out for it. Fine.
Terrible decision.
But that should not be your main event.
You had the world title
Correct.
match on the card.
Samoa Joe and Wardlow opened the show. Like, why is your world championship match opening your show and you're letting Willow versus Riho with a run-in late by Mercedes be the main event?
And
I think that
don't
was
even
poorly
get me
booked.
started on Riho. Like, she's absolute trash.
Yes. But in terms of Mercedes, do I think she's worth the money? Well, it depends. I think that the money they've spent on her is ridiculous. Will she make their women's division better? Yes. Hopefully they book her into some good feuds. People were saying they want to put her against like Saraya and stuff at all in. No, I don't want to see her. I want to see her as far away from Saraya as possible.
Yeah.
Get her to put over AEW wrestlers.
Sasha's the one that, well, Mercedes is the one that injured Paige's neck to begin with.
Correct. Yes.
So-
yes.
Don't-
So we don't want that
let's
story.
not that.
If
Let's not
Britt
do that
Baker
again.
comes back, if Jamie Hayter comes back, Chris
Is Britt
Statlander.
Baker ever coming back?
Mate,
What's
she
going on
needs
with
to.
that, man?
Well,
She's so over, and she hasn't been there for so long.
No, but here's the problem. She was getting turned on by the fans, and she caught onto that, and people were clamoring for other women's talent to get showcased.
And now they're
So
clamoring for her to come back.
Yeah, so she voluntarily took a step back, and now she just like hasn't been there. I loved Britt Baker. I thought she was
I
one
think
of the
brilliant,
best ones
brilliant.
that
I
they
think this
had.
proves that she's better than what like everybody thought. Well, not everyone thought. Everyone knew she was good, but everyone was like, "No, we want somebody new." And then they put all the new people out there, like, "Not as good as Britt. Actually, we want Britt back."
Yeah.
And let's keep on AEW.
Let's.
Obviously, we're talking about Mercedes Moné, but obviously you've already touched on it. But Okada, Ospreay, they're now both there.
The backstage promo with the
Oh,
Elite was
so good.
hilarious.
So
Hilarious.
But do you think, before you get into the detail,
yes,
do you think Tony Khan is getting a little bit too big for his britches and is thinking,
Yep.
I've signed Mercedes, I've signed Okada, I've signed Ospreay, that's my job done.
I don't think the dollar figure from Mercedes has come out properly yet, but apparently it's confirmed she is the highest paid women's wrestler in history.
and if Becky's on $3.5 million a year,
yeah.
you know she's on more than that.
But I guess
Yeah.
that's not necessarily my point. I think more what I was getting at was, do you think he now thinks that because he's signed those three people, 2024 sorted, doesn't matter what matches you give him, doesn't matter what you do, he's signed these three awesome people, tick my box, we're going to have a great year. I think he's going to rest on his laurels a bit. I really do.
So here's my AW rant, and this is going to be my rebuttal to what you had a discussion with me before we recorded. Essentially, like, so we already know that Danielson and Ospreay is happening at Dynasty.
Keen for that.
It's going to be a super great match. Already mark it down for 5 stars, right? It's how much
make it 12, mate.
how much
Make it
higher
10.
does it go that Dave Meltzer rates it, right?
Yeah.
Six
But
and a half.
your point to me was, why are you having that match now? You should build this over months. Why are we doing it? Blah, blah. This is Tony Khan just getting all of the toys that he wants and putting them together and putting his matches on.
Yep.
That's what he does best.
That's what AEW is. And I think that everybody needs to understand that if you want storytelling in wrestling, you want a long-term storyline, you want promos, you want The Rock, you want that kind of fun stuff, that's
Yeah.
WWE.
Yeah.
You're going to get stories, you're going to get things that are going to build up, which will make a 3.5 star in-ring match between The Rock and Cody Rhodes be 5 stars because there's a 6 storyline for the last 4 months you're really invested in and there's so much emotion to it. You don't get that in AEW because they don't think they need it. Because I can put Danielson and Ospreay in there and I get a 5-star match that people will watch over and over and over again because in the ring, it is the best thing you've ever seen. And that's what AEW is.
Yeah, and I'm not arguing with that at all. Like, I don't disagree with anything you're saying.
Yeah.
But then when they're talking about trying to get growth, they'll never get growth.
Correct.
They will stay with the same size crowd they've got forever.
and you talk about this, right? 2 weeks ago was Ospreay, and first week on the roster, bang, 5-star match against
Carl Fletcher.
Takeshita, and then a 5-star match against Carl Fletcher. Bang, bang. Okada, straight in. And Okada, like, if you guys haven't seen him in New Japan, like, he's obviously brilliant, but he was always a face for most of his career.
Yeah.
Towards the end, he kind of was a bit tired and grumpy, but never bad. Him going heel in AEW straight away with the Elite is brilliant. Because, like you said, that entrance when, like, I don't know if you haven't seen it, there's one of the guys backstage just interviewing them, and he's kind of like a bit heelish, but not too bad. And then he just says to the guy, he goes, "It's Matthew's birthday. Wish him happy birthday." And he goes, "Oh, happy birthday." He goes, No.
Sing it.
Sing it.
But he like gets like right.
But so perfectly done that you're like, you shit-eating heel.
Oh, it was
Just
fantastic.
And so, like...
Look, what I like about it, without having seen everything, is the fact that he's taken Kenny Omega's spot.
Yes.
Which is telegraphing him versus Omega when
Absolutely.
Omega comes back.
Yep.
That I'm super keen for.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
I just hope they don't screw it up in the meantime.
But this is my worry with Mercedes, right? Is that she's quite good in the ring, and I think she can get a good match out of somebody. I don't necessarily think that there are 5-star matches in that women's division right now. I think you need to build a few things to get some people. You need to get like a Jamie Hayter and stuff back to be able to have those really good matches. But I worry that Tony Khan just thinks, now that I've got Mercedes, I can just book Mercedes versus Julia Hart, and that's going to be perfect. But it's not, because like I don't think people are going to be as invested as he thinks they are. No. She is great and she's fantastic, but I think after you have her on TV for a couple of weeks, the aura's gone.
Same thing that's happening to Adam Copeland right now.
Absolutely.
Dude, that has fallen off a cliff. That has
Adam
fallen off
Cole.
a cliff.
I mean, I don't know Adam Cole's injured, but like the whole Undisputed Kingdom thing has just died in the ass because nothing's happening. I hope they don't do it with Ospreay, and I hope they don't do it with Okada, because like Okada coming in and he's already wrestled 3 or 4 times. Like, but I think having him with the Elite in tag matches kind of protects that a little bit until you start getting singles Okada and things. But the thing that I wanted to touch on with Ospreay too was that he did the Talk Is Jericho podcast.
Yeah, isn't that booked for Okada in Kingston? Isn't that booked for next week?
Yeah. So they're going to put the titles on Okada really quickly, which is what I said was going to happen. And then you'll have the Young Bucks will win the tag team tournament, and then they'll have titles, and then all of the Elite will have titles again. That's how they'll
Makes
book
sense.
it.
Yep, I'm down.
But yeah, essentially Ospreay said that, you know, he was really keen on AEW. He had talks with both companies and said that the WWE offer was not quite as good as what the AEW offer was. And it's come out recently that saying Triple H didn't know he could cut a promo. And like,
Bruv.
he knew he was good in the ring, but he didn't think he had much else. And so he cut a really good promo on Dynamite this week, like really invested.
Yep.
I think that he'll be the biggest babyface in AEW this year, for sure. He will headline All In.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And so he should.
He needs to win the title.
He'll win the title and he'll
So he
headline
should.
it. But yeah, he said on the Jericho podcast that like the reason he stuck with AEW was that the money was more, obviously, but also he can stay in London. He can stay in England because he can fly over, do a Dynamite. If he has to go stay for a Collision or a pay-per-view, he can for the week. Then he can do the next Dynamite and go home. Whereas WWE, the schedule is you've got a Raw or a SmackDown, and then you've got house shows and stuff, so he can't not live there. Go and listen to it because he goes into a lot of detail around the COVID stuff in New Japan and how like they all got locked into their apartments and stuff, and he had a bunch of wrestlers living with him, and then like because Japan was so much more strict during COVID, like you couldn't do things, you couldn't wrestle. It's very interesting, some of those stories. But one thing he said was, I want to go to AEW so I can have the best matches possible, and I want to wrestle Bryan Danielson. And so the
and
first
get a
chance
Nando
he got
sponsorship.
he walked straight out. Yeah, get Nando sponsorship. The first chance he gets, he goes straight for Bryan Danielson, and he gets that match at Dynasty. I guarantee you this year, Ospreay will go every pay-per-view, 5-star match against Danielson. Then he'll have one against Kingston. Yeah. Then he'll have one against Okada. Then he'll have one against Takeshita. Or he's already had the one against Takeshita. Then he'll have one against Omega. He will just
Can we get Kurt Angle out of retirement so him and Ospreay can have a 5-star match? So that Kurt Angle
finally gets one. Yeah, do you know how many he's got?
0.
None.
No, I mean Ospreay.
Oh,
39
he's well ahead
now?
of everyone, right?
39.
I think he's more than double the second person, right?
I haven't checked second, but yeah.
He's so far ahead. I know that. He's so far ahead.
But like you look at what's in AEW
like-
now, there's Takeshita, who's got a bunch. Okada has a bunch. Omega has a bunch. Kabushi has a bunch.
Yeah.
And Ospreay. They are 5-star wrestling machines. This is what Tony has done.
But this is where you need to then shift those guys into the title story.
Yes.
Love Samoa Joe. I love what they're doing with Swerve. Hangman has become relevant again. However, these guys need to be your title picture.
Yeah, I don't think Swerve's going to get that singles title this year that we
Nah,
suspected.
Swerve's winning it.
You reckon?
You reckon?
Yeah. I think Swerve will win it off Joe at Dynasty, and then he'll hold it for a little bit, and then he'll probably drop it to Ospreay at All In. But yeah, unless Kenny comes back or something, or they do something else silly, but I reckon that's the trajectory. I think you're going to go from Joe, Swerve to Ospreay.
They really need to capitalize on Swerve's popularity.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like they need to do something.
Yeah, he has to go really big because he is now main event type Swerve Strickland for them.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I guess there's not too much to talk about.
Darby Allin's broken foot.
Yeah.
Darby Allin broke his foot, but before we get to that, like the whole Mercedes thing kind of overshadowed that this card also had the Elite, which was the Young Bucks and Okada against Eddie Kingston, Penta, and Pac. Like this is Pac's first match wrestling since like middle of last year.
Should have been a massive, massive return.
It should have, yeah. But it kind of got overshadowed. It was a brilliant match. Like, go watch it. But
I bet.
With
those guys involved, it's a given.
And then, there's Darby versus Jay White, where Darby did a sunset flip off the turnbuckle onto the floor and broke his foot.
He broke his foot.
And then they did the turn on
Chair spot at the end that you
the chair spot on the end with Sting's
with a
bat.
broken foot.
No
With a
more
broken
bang bang
foot.
scissor gang.
And the Bang Bang Scissor Gangs. Did you you haven't watched it yet, have you? So essentially what happened was they beat Darby. Jay White beat Darby.
I've seen like how they did it. Yeah.
And then the Bullet Club came out to try and beat Darby up. And then the Acclaimed came out with Daddy Ass. And we're like, hey, what are you doing? This is not us. We're better than this. We've learned. And they were like, yeah, sorry, all right, okay, you're correct. We are better. We're sorry. So the Guns grab. Did they grab Darby? Yeah, I think they grabbed Darby and they carry him out of the ring and stuff. And then Daddy Ass turns around Jay White, smacks him with a chair. And then they all go back in the ring and they beat up the Acclaimed. And now the Scissor Gang is gone. Sad. But Bullet Club Gold is back as heel, which is good.
But they won't be able to carry Darby to the top of Mount Everest. So
No, he's got to postpone that for 12 months
Everest.
Yeah, till next year.
He's yet to peak.
At least we don't have to
So-
stress about Darby potentially dying for the next 12 months.
But what's TK going to do now? He's probably like gone, well, I don't have Darby for 6 months for storylines. I don't have to worry about him. But now he's like, well, he'll be back after however long with a broken foot. Maybe Darby's in some storylines again for All In.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or
You tell
maybe
me.
just give
You're
him
the
12 months
AEW
off.
expert, man. Well, anything else, mate?
I think that pretty much covers everything this week, doesn't it?
Yeah, there was a lot to cover.
We can ignore that Chris Jericho was on Dynamite because everybody else hates it too. His podcast's good, but I just can't stand him on TV anymore. Get rid of him.
Yeah, I think it's getting close. It's going to be getting close. I think this year we keep saying it, but yeah, he needs to go into talent development rather than being in the ring.
I think my final comment for this entire podcast will be that we are in a very, very sweet spot for wrestling as wrestling fans.
Like The Rock's been saying, wrestling's cool again.
Wrestling is cool again. WrestleMania is going to be huge. All of those matches are going to be great.
Pro wrestling.
And like we said, all the storylines and stuff coming up to it, it's going to be some sensational promos and stuff. And you've got TNA that's, got some good wrestlers in there now with Nic Nemeth and Moose and stuff. They're coming out to Australia. They're doing different things. They're starting to get really good. AEW have, like we said, 5-star match, 5-star factory of people in there. You can watch brilliant wrestling. Wrestling is good right now. No matter what you watch, wrestling is good right now. So let's enjoy it for the next couple of months and just ride this swift train.
I am so keen for WrestleMania. No matter who wins or what happens, unless Cody loses, and then I'll be a crybaby again. I'm so keen.
Mate.
I'm so keen.
I'm going to be standing tall over you guys
Again.
if Rock, if Roman wins.
Don't do it.
I'm going to
Don't
do it. I'm going to do
Well,
it.
that's it for another week of Down on the Mat podcast here in Madison Square Garage around the pool table of relevancy. Thank you, Mr. Daniel Danielson. Thank you, Rowdy Reece. I'm Booker Ted. We'll see you at the next episode. Bang, bang.
No, we can't do it anymore.
What do we do?
We just go back to Scissor Gang? We got to go back to
Scissor me, daddy.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Oh.
Very sad scissor.